Hello, my name is Melody Stephenson, and when I was 16, I found out I was pregnant. I was scared and desperate, so I agreed with my family and friends to have an abortion. There were no counseling or there were no other options presented to me. And I thought my life would change forever if I had this child. I was in high school and I didn't know what else to do. I believed it was just a clump of tissue, and I didn't know until later that my parents were looking into a home for young mothers. But I thought abortion was my only option, and I chose it. About a month later, I found myself very depressed. I slept a lot because life was much better in a dream. I didn't care what happened to my body, and I remember drinking a lot, using LSD, mushrooms, drugs, anything to get rid of that memory and forget. I had many sexual relationships just to feel some sort of love. I went later on a low dose birth control pill and got pregnant again from missing some pills. I told the father, and he said, "It's up to me." So to me, I understood he was saying, "I don't care about this baby." And so I drank more, did more drugs, didn't even consider what was inside of me. I was 3 months pregnant when I finally told a family member. And that time I had to go to a clinic in the States because my baby was 12 weeks. And I was awake for the whole procedure. I heard the suction and I seen the jar fill up. And the nurse said it was just tissue when I asked. I knew the truth, but I blocked it out. I remember later that night I drank so much, trying to forget what I did. And I don't even remember the ride home, to tell you the truth. Later in my life, I got pregnant a third time on purpose in the same year. And I've learned that many women do this and experience multiple abortions, often do that to just, feel whole again. And it's a replacement pregnancy. But I had my son and we got married. But because abortion affected our relationship, we got divorced 6 months later. My son was 3 when I had my third abortion. I drove myself because I didn't want to tell anyone that I was going to climb up onto that table again. The procedure was very painful afterward, and I was weak and bleeding, but I didn't want to go back to the hospital because I didn't want to tell anybody what I did. I had to stay at a friend's house because I couldn't drive myself all the way home. Some say, "How can you do this 3 times?" I don't know. When you look back, it's desperation. I didn't know the truth. But a lot of women do use this form of birth control. And they don't realize sometimes, there's just so much desperation. And one day, though, it hits you what you've done, and the grief comes. So later on, I heard a testimony of a woman who had an abortion on TV. And I finally knew I was not alone, and I grieved and I cried that day. I grieved my children and what I did. I asked God to forgive me. And later I wrote a song for my 3 aborted children so that others could identify with my pain. It was a love letter to them filled with regret. I know they're in heaven waiting for me. I never talked about my abortions to anyone. I would only tell doctors one or two, never three. Through the years of searching, I found Jesus that would forgive all I have done, and he set me free from shame and healed my pain. I also found Rachel's Vineyard to help me with the deep healing that was needed. God gave me the courage to speak out, and I wanted to be a voice for my children, to reach women with a message of healing and expose the lies about abortion. I now had a purpose, and so did my children. I gave them a voice. I still find myself mourning my unborn children at times, especially Mother's Day, which is coming up. It's very hard sometimes. And it pains me to imagine what they experienced while they were torn apart by a machine and by a doctor who didn't tell me the truth. They were destroyed due to my ignorance and a violent form of birth control. Now I have 3 beautiful children, and I have 11 grandchildren, and we need to teach our grandchildren pro-life values. Thank you. And one was just born premature. I'm so thankful. She was 34 weeks, but she is thriving and alive, and we are all, it's just a gift of God, you know? Thank God. I will always remember my unborn children, Charisse, Daniel, and Tamara. And for them, I am silent no more.